Hello everyone, welcome to Prince on Air, and today we are going to discuss about the back exercise solution. This is the last video of back exercise solutions, okay, and in this video we will discuss about the remaining questions of back exercise of NCERT, and also we will discuss about the previous year questions related to the one marker, okay. That are the one marker question, you can say, or that are the very short questions that were asked in the previous board exams, okay. It may be Delhi, it may be All India. So many exams that questions we will discuss, and even some other boards, okay. So without wasting any time, we will discuss about the little less amount of questions, okay, and fastly we will cover that questions, okay. So now let's start the questions, and that is our first question of this video. That is gold crystallizes in the face centered unit cell. What is the length of side of the unit cell? Okay. So what is given to you now in this question? You can check it once. It is atomic radius, okay. So atomic radius R is given to you, that is 0.144 nanometer, okay, clear. So it is crystallizes in FCC, face centered unit cell, means FCC unit cells, okay. So here what they are asking you, that is at length of side, means A we have to calculate. So for FCC, what is the relationship between the edge length and radius? Tell me, what is the relationship between edge length and radius? That was 4R is equals to root 2A, I think so. Is that no? So 4R is equals to root 2A. We have to calculate the value of A. Now from here 4R is equals to A is equals to 4R upon root 2. So it will comes out to be 2 root 2 R. Okay. Now 2 root 2 into R is 0.144. Okay. So just you have to solve this value. You can calculate the value of A from here, and that value comes out to be, calculate that value please. That value will comes out to be 0.4073 nanometer, okay. You can just check it out, the calculation, is it right or wrong, okay. Here you can check that 2 into 1.414, value of root 2 is 414, and into 0.144. So just you have to multiply these values. From here you can see it will comes out to be 2.828 into 0.144. So just you can do that calculation, okay. Now next question is in terms of band theory. Remember that band theory, okay, in which we have made the some box, and one is of conduction band and one is of valence band, okay. So remember that. So according to in the terms of band theory, what is the difference between the conductor and an insulator, and also conductor and semiconductor? So two questions are asked were asked in this question. Firstly, we have to give the difference between the conductor and insulator, and then conductor and semiconductor, okay. So firstly, let me explain all of these three bands on the basis of bands theory. In conductor, actually the conduction band and valence band both are just collapse with each other, okay, or you can say some little bit merge with each other. So that is the merging area. Means here if I am making that graphical form, energy, so there will be the little amount of energy required for the electron just to absorb that energy and go to the conduction band and valence band, okay. Means that there will be a transformation of the conduction band and valence band of the electrons, okay, from the conduction band to valence band or valence band to conduction band. That in way you can say, okay. But in this case, in the case of semiconductors, there will be a gap between the conduction band and valence band, and in case of insulators, there will be a large difference between them. So that is for conductors, that is for semiconductors, and that is for insulators. Okay. So whenever we are applying some energy, and that electron will jump from here to here, and only on applying some extra amount of energy, but here it is, there will be the requirement of energy very high. Okay, that amount of energy that is required is very high. Clear? Now it's clear. So on the basis of band theory, conductor and insulator, firstly conductor and insulator, here amount of energy required is very less, but here the energy gap is very high. It is also known as forbidden gap. Forbidden gap, okay, where electron is not, the existence of electron is not possible here. So you can see the energy gap between the conduction band and valence band is very high. That is the only main difference between the conductor and insulator on the basis of band theory. Okay, and similarly, whenever you are, if you want to differentiate between conductor and semiconductor on the basis of band theory, same difference is there. Here you can say that the difference between the energy gap between the conduction band and valence band is very less, but here it is having some amount of energy requirement. Okay, clear? So that is a major difference. Next, explain the following terms with suitable examples. Yeah, that is the important question here. You have to explain the terms, okay, of Schottky defect, Frankel defect, interstitial defect, and F centers. Okay, so some of the example I will explain here, and some of the example that we have discussed in the previous lectures also you can see there also. So main term I will explain here. Now first one is Schottky defect and Frankel defect. That is a major question here and very most important topic. Okay, Schottky and Frankel. See, that I told you during the time of that trick I have given to you, that trick was during related to the COVID time, or you can say the lockdown period. During lockdown period, you can see that schools are vacant and fine will be charged. Okay, so FI, fine, school vacant. Okay, so means schools are vacant and fine will be charged. That is a trick. Okay, so in this way you can say the Frankel defect is just related to the interstitial defect, and the Schottky defect is just related to the vacancy defect. Okay, so you can say in this case, if we are having that ionic crystal, okay, and in this case you can say that this is plus minus plus minus plus minus plus minus plus, and here that if the ions are having relatively similar size, so that positive and negative charges, in that way positive and negative both will evacuated from this place, and you can say that there will be the formation of hole or vacant space. Okay, okay, so these are the forms, and here the vacancy will be created. So that type of defect is known as Schottky defect. Okay, but in case of Frankel defect, in case of Frankel defect, you can see in Frankel defect there is the formation of interstitial defect, means charges are on their own position, but in this case that if defect you can see only when the size of cation is very smaller than size of anion. Okay. So, what you can see here, okay, that smaller are of cations and bigger are of anions. Okay. Now, from through that point you can see that one of the cation will jump from its own position and shift it to the interstitial side. Okay. And that is jump from there, and it will create hole here, and that both defects will be collectively happen here, hole, that is vacancy, and also the interstitial. Okay. So, in this case no any change in vacancy occur, no any change in density occurs. Okay. But in case of Schottky, the two or more than two ions are just evacuated from there and hole is created or vacancy is created there. So, in that case density will decrease. Okay. Density will decrease here, no density will change. Okay. Clear? Next is interstitial defect. That interstitial defect we have discussed just now, in which we have seen the one particle jump from its own position and shifted to the interstitial side. Okay. So, once again I can show you, but in that case there is not necessity of ions. Okay. That is for non ionic solids, and that will be of almost similar size. Okay. So, one of the particle will jump from here, that is creating hole here, and it will jump to the here that position. Okay, maybe, and that is, and one more point is there. Suppose in that case this one is happening there, means from outer side one atom is situated and occupying the interstitial position, and in that case the density is increased because molecular mass or you can say molar mass increases. Okay. So, in that way you can say the density also increases in the given area. Okay. Clear? So, here from external sides we are just supplying external elements or atoms, and they are occupying the interstitial side. Okay. So, next one is F centers. What is F center here? You can see this. F center is, if you are supposing the crystal of NaCl, in this case suppose this one is a crystal of NaCl. Okay. So, if I am just supplying the sodium vapors here, sodium vapors are of that size, and whenever they are just coming to its that NaCl surface, okay, that is NaCl surface, and from inside that chloride ion, that is of chloride ion, they are just shifted towards the sodium vapors, and they combine with that sodium vapors. How? That sodium will just leave one electron and it will becomes Na positive ion. Okay. And in that way Na positive ion will combine with Cl negative ion, and it will form NaCl here also on the surface side. Okay. Clear? And that its position, that chloride ion's position is occupied by that electron. Okay. So, that electron will be occupying that chloride ions position, and that chloride ion shifted to towards the outside surface side, where it will combine with the Na positive ion and it will form NaCl crystals there also. Okay. So, in that way it will show the yellow color, okay, because that negative electron coming towards that position, no, it will gain energy from the outer sources and it will show the excitation, and due to transition of that electron there will be the formation of colors, and that color is yellow in this case. Okay, clear? So, that point where that electron is coming, that is known as F center. Okay, that is known as F center. Okay, now with the help of example I have explained this. So, that all topics we have discussed in detail in the previous lectures. So, for detail you can see that lectures once again, and in this cases, in these videos, in this lecture I am just explaining the question answer and discussing the question answers, so that you can understand or you can recall that answers of these questions, okay, during exams also. Now, next is aluminium crystallizes in cubic closed pack structure. Its metallic radius is 125 picometer. What is the length of the side of unit cell? How many unit cells are there in 1.00 cubic centimeter of aluminium? So, this is the important question here, and in this question two questions were asked. First one is, firstly we have to tell the length of the side of unit cell, and afterwards second is how many unit cells are there in 1 cubic centimeter of aluminium. Okay. So, that is the main question here. See how to solve this. Side by side you can try to solve these questions yourself, and I will just provide you the solution. Aluminium crystallizes in cubic closed pack structure. Cubic closed pack structure is just similar to face center. Okay. Its metallic radius is given to you, that is 125 picometer. Okay, 125 picometer. Okay. So, what is the length of the side of unit cell? Means A we have to calculate. That same question just we have done now. So, what is the relation between R and A? Tell me the relation between R and A here. That is 4R is equals to root 2 A. Clear? 4R is equals to root 2 A. Clear? So, here we have to calculate the value of A. It will comes out to be 4R is upon root 2, means 2 root 2 R. A is equals to 2 into 1.414 into R is 125 picometer. So, just solve this value, try to solve this value, and that result will comes out to be 354 picometer. Approximately that you can see, actually that result will comes out to be 354 picometer. Okay, clear? Now, that is the first question that we have solved. Now, we have to calculate how many unit cells are there in 1 cubic centimeter of aluminium. Okay. So, 1 cubic centimeter is the aluminium's whole that units, you can say that volume is provided to you now, and this one is the edge length of 1 unit cell. Okay, means that edge length of 1 unit cell is 354 picometer, and if you will find the volume of 1 cube, and that is the whole volume of the cubes. So, if you will divide that volume by volume of 1 cube, then in that way you can calculate the total number of unit cells. So, how you can calculate the volume of 1 cube? That is from the A cube. Okay. So, A value is value of A is 354 picometer. Okay. A cube will be the volume, so it will be 354 picometer cube, or you can say 354 into 10 raised power minus 12 meter cube. Okay. So, just solve this value and that result will comes out to be 44.36 into 10 raised power minus 36 cubic meter. Okay, that is a value of A cube. Now, you have the value of whole you can say crystals. Okay. So, the number of unit cell will comes out to be 1.00 cubic centimeter upon 44.36 into 10 raised power minus 36 cubic meter. Okay, is that the result? No, but the problem is here we are having cubic meter, but here we are having cubic centimeter. So, we have to convert that cubic centimeter into cubic meter. How we can convert? See, 1.00 cubic centimeter, I can write it as 1.00 centimeter cube, or you can say in that way only 1 centimeter cube, not in this way here. So, 1 centimeter, in 1 centimeter how many meters are there? That are 10 raised power minus 2 meter. So, it will comes out to be 10 raised power minus 6 cubic meter. So, I can write it as 1.00 into 10 raised power minus 6 cubic meter, 44.36 into 10 raised power minus 36 cubic meter. So, just solve this value. So, just solve this value, it will comes out to be 1 upon 44.36 into 10 raised power minus plus 30. Okay, meter cancelled. So, just solve this value, you will get that whole answer will comes out to be, actually it is this 36? Let me check once. No, it is not 36, it is 30. Okay, it is 30. Okay, so it will comes out to be 24. It will comes out to be, yeah, only that calculation you can handle. Okay, so answer will just come out to be, just I will tell you the answer. It will comes out to be 2.254 into 10 raised power 22. Okay, these are the number of unit cell. Only just calculation you can handle, because if I am going to do that calculation, it will take so much time to solve a single numerical. Okay. So, now move to next part. Next question is, if NaCl is doped with the 10 raised power minus 3 mole percent strontium chloride, what is the concentration of cation vacancies? Yeah. So, that is the question here. So, just you have to try to do yourself first. Okay. Now, I just give you that hint how to solve this question. See, in NaCl, okay, in NaCl, here you can say that this is NaCl, 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 NaCl. Okay, clear? Now, NaCl is doped with strontium chloride. It means strontium is having the charge Sr2 positive, and here Na is having Na positive. Means in place of 2 Na positive, there will be 1 Sr2 positive will be replaced there, or you can say that 1 Sr2 positive will replace 2 Na positive ions. Okay. So what they are saying, which we have to do, that is cationic vacancy. Okay. So just we have to see the how many cationic vacancies are there. For that we have to check it out how many Na positive ions or are replaced by the Sr2 positive ions. Okay. Here you can see that if you want to replace one Na positive, only two Na positive. Okay, that 2 Na positive will be replaced by 1 Sr2 positive. Okay, and there will be the formation of cationic vacancy. Now what they are saying, whenever NaCl is doped with 10 raised power minus 3 mole percent of SrCl2, so you have to tell the concentration of cationic vacancy, means how many cationic vacancies are created there. That will be equals to the number of Sr2 positive ions situated here. Okay. Here if I am situating one Sr2 positive ion, one cationic vacancy will be formed. If I am situating one more here, so we have to replace 2 Na positive ions more, you can see this, and in this case one Sr2 positive will form there and it will occupying that position. So now you can see there will be the formation of 2 cationic vacancies. Okay, whenever that 2 Sr2 positive are occupying that positions of Na positive ions, in that way 2 cationic vacancies are created. Okay, then so for that reason we have to just check it out how many Sr2 positive ions are occupying the position of Na positive ions. So that is the hint for you, try to do yourself, otherwise I will provide the solution. I am giving you 1 minute to solve this question. Yeah, some are having the doubt here. 10 raised power minus 3 mole percent strontium chloride, what is the meaning of this? It means that number of, you can say that 10 raised power minus 3 mole percent. Okay, 10 raised power minus 3 mole percent, it means that percent means per thousand. Okay, so 10 raised power minus 3 thousand, percent means per 100. Okay, so in 100. So if you are having the total number of charges, ions or substance or mass 100, or number of moles, here they are saying number of moles. So if you are having 100 moles, so from 100 moles the 10 raised power 3 minus 3 moles will be the amount. Okay, so total it will comes out to be 10 raised power minus 5 moles. From here I am just providing you total number of moles. Okay, so concentration of total number of moles of Sr2 positive ions. Okay, clear? Now 1 mole, all of you know very well, 1 mole of Sr2 positive ions will equals to 6.02 into 10 raised power 23 moles. Okay, but we are having 10 raised power minus 5 moles, so it will comes out to be 10 raised power minus 5 moles of Sr2 positive will equals, it will equals to 10 raised power minus 5 into 6.02 into 10 raised power 23. It will comes out to be 6.02 into 10 raised power 18. Okay, clear? It will comes out to be 6.02 into 10 raised power 18. So now we got the value of total number of strontium ions, and if we know that value of total number of strontium ions situated here, through that it will also giving you the concentration of cation vacancy. Okay, that is the concentration of cation vacancy here. Clear now? That is the answer of this question. Next one is the simplest one. I just provide you that answer orally now, and that for that detailed answer you can follow the book, or from directly you can see that book, and also our previous lecture, last lecture, you can see that topic based lecture, not of the back exercise solution based lecture. Okay. So here explain the following with the suitable examples. Okay. For the example you can also focus on that part. Ferromagnetism. What is ferromagnetism here? In which domains are randomly situated. Okay, what are domains? Domains, you can say these are the charged particles, ions, which are having random direction. Okay, like here in that way. But whenever we are applying some external magnetic field, they will change into the same direction of the magnetic field. Okay, they will just shift towards the direction of magnetic field. Okay, and even afterwards, if we are removing that magnetic field, they are be like in this way. So that's why they are forming the permanent magnets. That is the most important question here also. Which type of magnetism or magnets are forming the permanent magnets? Okay, so if somebody is asking you related to among these, which is forming the permanent magnets, ferromagnetism is showing the permanent magnetism. Okay. Now paramagnetism. Paramagnetism is the effect in which it will occurs in those substances which are having unpaired electrons. Okay, those are having unpaired electrons. Clear? Those are having unpaired electrons. So one or two unpaired electron is there, then it will show paramagnetism, and paramagnetism they will little bit attracted towards a magnetic field. Okay. Now ferrimagnetism. What is ferrimagnetism? Ferrimagnetism is just related to the ferromagnetism, but here some of the domains are cancelled out. Okay, means you can say domains are like in this way. Some of the domains are cancelled out, see, which are anti-parallel to each other, and but it will show some resultant effect in the magnetic field. Okay, so here you can see some resultant effect will be shown to you due to some parallel interaction of domains. Okay. Now antiferromagnetism. Antiferromagnetism is just reverse to the ferrimagnetism and ferromagnetism, in which all that domains are cancelled out and which are just anti-parallel to each other. Okay. Now that's why there is no effect of magnetic field on antiferromagnetic objects. Now 12, 16, 13, 15 group compounds. What is the meaning of this? That are showing the type of semiconductor forms in which if 12 group elements are doped with 16 group elements. Similarly, if 13 group elements are doped with 15 group elements, they form some compounds which are showing the semiconductor behavior. Okay. So that is the major terms which we have to discuss, and that is the end of the solutions of the back exercise questions. And now we will discuss about the, firstly we will cover about the one word question answers or some important previous year questions that were asked in different boards also. Some of the name of the boards were not mentioned here, so that were also asking the different state boards also. Okay. So first question is, which point defect in crystals does not alter the density of relevant solids? That is Frankel defect. Okay, that is Frankel defect, because in that defect no density is altered. That I have shown to you. It is interstitial defect, in which one of the position is removed, or you can say the particle making the hole here, and it is occupying the interstitial point or a position. Which point defect in the crystal unit alter the density? Yeah, sure. Schottky, in which the particles are in pairing form, positive and negative charge particles are moving outwards. Okay, so in that case the density of the whole crystal will decrease. Next is, which point defect in crystal units increases the density of solids? Yeah, that is interstitial defect, in which the particles are like in this way, and some of the particles from the external sources are coming inside and occupying that position. Okay, so in this case you can see the density of the whole crystal will increase. So that is interstitial site. Okay, now next one is, that is also known as metal excess defect, in which the density is also increasing. Next one is, how do metallic and ionic substances differ in conducting the electricity? Yeah, means what is the main difference between metallic and ionic substances on the basis of electricity, conductivity of electricity? See, in the metallic they are showing conductivity due to free electrons, and the ionic they are showing due to free ions. Okay, so that is a major difference between their on the basis of their electrical conductivity. So electrical conductivity in metallic substances are due to free electrons, while in ionic substances are due to presence of ions. Next is, which point defect of crystals decrease the density of solids? Once again that question was asked, same Schottky defect. Some questions may be repeated. Okay, so what is the number of atoms in per unit face centered cubic crystal? Face centered, firstly at corners and at the center of faces. Okay, so which are present at corners? That are total number of 8, and their contribution is 1 by 8. So it will comes out to be 1. And what about the faces? That are 6, and their contribution is 1 by 2. So it will comes out to be 3. So total will come out to be 4 here. So contribution of total atoms will be contributed atoms will be 4. Okay. Next one is, write a feature which will distinguish between the metallic solids and ionic solids. So that we have already discussed, electrical conductivity metallic solids due to free electrons and due to presence of ions. So that we have already discussed. Which point defect of in crystals of solid does not change the density of? That also we have discussed, Frankel defect. Okay, some questions are repeating now. Which point defect in crystal of solid decrease the density? Once again it was asked. And what type of interaction hold in molecules together in the polar molecules? Which type of interaction is there? That is dipole-dipole forces of attraction. Next one is, what type of semiconductor is obtained when silicon is doped with arsenic? See, silicon is from group 14 and arsenic from group 15. So there will be the excess of number of electrons. So in this case n type semiconductors are formed. Okay, write a distinguishing feature of metallic solids. They possess high electrical and thermal conductivity due to presence of free electrons. That is a main point here. Next is, crystalline solids are anisotropic in nature. What does this statement means? Means, what is the meaning of anisotropy? Different physical properties in different directions. So that is a reason here. It means the crystalline solid shows different values of their some properties like electrical conductivity, refractive index, thermal expansion in different directions. Okay, that properties as mentioned here. Next one is, which stoichiometric defect in crystals increases with density of solid? Once again it is interstitial defect, okay, that we have just discussed now. Next is, what is the meaning of doping in semiconductors? It is an addition of impurities of a to a semiconductor in the appropriate amount to increase its conductivity or properties also. So, addition of suitable amount of impurity to a semiconductor to increase the conductivity, it is called doping. Okay. Now, write a point of distinction between a metallic solid and an ionic solid other than metallic luster. Okay, other than metallic luster, what is the main difference between the metallic solid and ionic solid? So many differences we have discussed. Once again, it was asked, and some other question we will discuss here. Metallic solids conduct electricity in solid state, but ionic solids do not conduct electricity in solid state. They can conduct only in the molten or solution state. Metals conduct electricity through electrons, but ionic substances conduct electricity through ions. Metallic solids are malleable and ductile, while ionic solids are hard and brittle. Okay, so three differences we have discussed in this case. Next is, what are n-type semiconductors? N-type semiconductors in which the electrons are in excess. Okay, so here they are obtained by doping silicon with the elements of group 15. Means you can say 14 group elements are, whenever they are doped with 15 group, they will show n-type semiconductor due to presence of excess number of electrons. Okay. Next is, what type of stoichiometric defect is shown by AGBR and AGI. AGBR, actually it's showing both type of Frankel and Schottky defect. Okay, but in case of AGI, it is only showing the Frankel defect. So some examples are given has given to you in your book also, and in your previous lecture we have discussed there. Next, how may conductivity of intrinsic semiconductors be increased? The conductivity is increased by adding a suitable amount of impurity, and that process is known as intrinsic doping, which stoichiometric defect increases with the density of solid. Once again, that is interstitial defect. Okay, so that are the some important questions that we have discussed. So that is the end of this session here, and in your next lecture we will discuss about some other important things like assertion reason based question we will discuss. So you can just practice that type of question, and you can just face that type of questions, and in that case of your during exam you will not face any problem to attend that type of question, because nowadays students are facing some problems to attempt that type of question like of assertion reason and MCQ based questions. So that we will discuss here also. Okay, so in separate lecture we will discuss about the assertion reason based questions. Okay, so in next lecture you will see the video on assertion reason based questions, and that will be the end of that lecture chapter. Maybe one video will be on your unit test solution. After that you will get your unit test, and maybe one video will be on your unit test solution. So that we will also discuss, and afterwards we will start our next chapter. Okay, so thanks for watching this video. Stay at home and stay safe. Okay, so thank you.